Whenever I do a versus video, I always take price into consideration. But not today. Today we're going to compare the three most popular 360-degree speakers right now. We have one of my most favorite products, the JBL Pulse 3, the elegant Bose Soundlink Revolve Plus, and the somewhat improved UE Megablast. All three of these speakers don't just look very different, they all have very different approaches to how they actually produce their 360-degree sound. The JBL Pulse 3 is the cheapest speaker here and retails for $200, but it's usually on sale for about $170 these days. The UE Megablast retails for $250, but you can usually get the black version for about $190. And finally, there's the Bose Soundlink Revolve Plus, which is the most expensive speaker here, retailing for $299, and almost never goes on sale. If you want to pick either of these speakers up, I'll have links in the description below, and if you use the links, it really helps out the channel. And also, check out the numeric shelf down below. Even though all three of these speakers are portable speakers, one is tougher than the others. The Bose Revolve Plus is the most fragile speaker here due to its easy-to-scratch aluminum body, and it only has an IPX4 certification. But it is the most refined-looking speaker here. The JBL Pulse 3 carries an IPX7 certification, which means it's waterproof for the most part. But due to its acrylic top, you also run the risk of scratching or cracking it if you travel on a regular basis with this speaker. If you need a tough speaker, then the Megablast is your guy. It has an IP67 certification, so it's both dust and waterproof, and thanks to its fabric and rubber body, this speaker can definitely take a beating. When it comes to ports, both the Revolve Plus and Pulse 3 have easy-to-reach micro USB ports and audio jacks for wired listening. The Megablast also charges via a micro USB port, but it doesn't have an audio jack. Not having an audio jack on the Megablast doesn't bother me these days, but what does is just how hard it is to reach its micro USB port. Since this port is so indented, it limits the amount of USB cables you can use to charge the speaker. The point of having a universal standard like a micro USB port is so that you can mix and match cables, and if you need a replacement, you can easily just buy one. But with the Megablast, you can really only just charge the speaker with its included cable. So if you lose or damage this cable, it could be a headache in the future. I just feel this is a sneaky way of UE trying to get you to buy their $40 power-up charging cradle. And I also hate the fact that you have to stand the Megablast upside down when you're going to charge it. I just feel that this is sloppy design. But UE also decided to omit physical control buttons in favor of Amazon's ELEXA voice control on the Megablast, which also bothers me. You can use the Megablast as a souped-up Echo, and admittedly, it works pretty well. You might have to enunciate sometimes, but it gets the job done. Alexa, what is the current price of Bitcoin?
One Bitcoin is worth $7,530, up 1.3% over the last 24 hours.
But you can only use voice commands to play or pause your music or to skip a track if the Megablast is connected to Wi-Fi and if you're streaming music from Amazon Music, Pandora, Spotify, and a few other streaming services. But if you plan on streaming music over Bluetooth, either because you're using Apple Music or Google Play Music like I do, then the only way you can control your music playback is from your phone. The only physical buttons the Megablast has are the comically large plus and minus buttons on its front for volume controls, a power button that blinks when Alexa is talking, and a Bluetooth button up top. The Revolve and Pulse 3 don't have smart speaker capabilities like the Megablast, but they do have a full set of control buttons. And I feel this is important to have on all speakers, because sometimes it's just easier to push a button than to use voice commands. Or if you're with friends, someone can stop or skip a track without having to tell you to use your phone. Now let's talk about speaker setups, because like I said earlier, they're all very different. The JBL Pulse 3 has three 40mm transducers all located underneath the fabric portion of the speaker. And there's dual passive radiators on the top and on the bottom of the speaker. It's kind of JBL's trademark. The Bose Soundlink Revolve Plus has a single downward firing transducer that gets evenly spread out by an acoustic deflector. And in the neck portion of the speaker, there are dual passive radiators as well. And finally, the UE Megablast has the most hardware out of all of these speakers. The Megablast has dual 55mm transducers and dual passive radiators, which are pretty common for a speaker of this size. But the Megablast also has dual 25mm tweeters, which do help out in the highs. Now, before we get into the sound test, just note the Megablast is set to its the standard EQ settings.
a stranger to excuses. Burned me once or twice, I expect them. I just wanna know what your truth is. Will you be the one to break me out of this? I want you all to myself. Don't wanna share you with nobody else. So give me something to believe. Will you promise me? Will you promise me? So give me something to believe. Will you promise me? Will you promise me?
If I had to line these speakers up from best to worst regarding sound quality, it would go Megablast, Revolve Plus, and Pulse 3 in last. The JBL Pulse 3 has a neutral sound signature and has a good amount of bass, but it doesn't sound as clear or as full as the other two speakers, and it also gets the least loudest here at max volume. The Bose Revolve Plus has a sound signature that puts an emphasis on vocalists, and there's also a lot of treble. Although it has a good amount of bass, the Revolve Plus does suffer a little when it comes to instrument separation, and at higher volumes, there is a considerable amount of distortion. And then there's the Megablast. When I first reviewed it a few months ago, my biggest problem with the Megablast was that it had way too much bass and absolutely no mids. But now, UE has changed that, and I actually really like how the Megablast sounds now. Instrument separation is really good, and when the speaker is set to max volume, distortion isn't a problem. And through UE's app, you can now adjust the Megablast EQ settings. You can either use one of their pre-made ones, or you can make your own, so you can make the speaker sound however you like. Through the app, you can also see other things like your battery status, network status, and more importantly, you can mute the speaker mics. Bose's app is also pretty useful. My favorite thing about it is that you can remotely turn on your Bose speaker. That's something these other speakers can't do. And you can also pair up another Bose speaker straight from the app as well. But if you get the Pulse 3, chances are you're going to be using this app the most. From the JBL Connect app, you can adjust the brightness of the light feature, you can select from a few different lighting modes, and you can also adjust the color to your liking. Even though the Pulse 3 isn't the best sounding speaker here, it's definitely the coolest looking speaker here that easily livens up a room when you're playing music with it. But due to the Pulse 3's light feature, its battery life is always changing. Even though JBL advertises a 12-hour battery life on the Pulse 3, depending on what light mode you're using and what brightness it's at, your battery life can vary from 3 hours of playback time or sometimes more than the advertised 12 hours of playback time if the light feature is turned off. Battery lives on the Revolve Plus and Megablast are a little more consistent. With the volume set at 80%, both the Revolve Plus and Megablast should last you about 9 hours of playback time. Now, even though the Megablast is the most durable speaker here, sounds pretty good, and it has a pretty good battery life, just know that you can't pair it up to any other UE speakers, which is another major feature this speaker is missing. Whereas the Bose Soundlink Revolve Plus, you can pair it up to one other Bose speaker. And then there's the Pulse 3, which is rocking JBL Connect Plus. Not only can you pair up to 100 JBL speakers together, which honestly nobody really needs, more importantly, it is by far the easiest and best way to pair multiple speakers together. You literally just press one button on each speaker, and the speakers will figure out the rest by themselves. So, which is the best 360-degree speaker here? Objectively, I have to give it to the UE Megablast. It's extremely durable, it has a really good battery life, it gets the loudest, and it sounds best here at a very reasonable price if you can get it on sale. But there are so many quirks with the Megablast that you need to know what you're getting into before you get the speaker. Like I mentioned earlier, I hate that the speaker doesn't have a full set of physical control buttons. Alexa is cool, but not always the most convenient. I hate how the micro USB port is so hard to reach for no reason, and not being able to pair this speaker up to another speaker sucks if you've already invested into the UE ecosystem. I feel the JBL Pulse 3 is still the safest bet, and if you like the finer things in life, then the Bose Soundlink Revolve Plus will get the job done too. If you made it this far, I guess you enjoyed the video, so hit that like button and get subscribed. It helps out more than you realize. Support the channel by clicking on the links down below, and I'll catch you next time.